All right, so this video we're going to be going over death, the state of death, and creating a actor, which we will call the dead actor, which will be used as a placeholder for our character. It will be swapped out with our character to stop us from being able to interact with the world. Perfect. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to actually create the dead actor. This will just be a child. You see a dead actor. It will be a child of our character base. Right-clicking, create child blueprint class. Big things about this, we're going to care about our collisions, as we want this to, at least the way I want it, is just to have a little dead corpse that it will not be interacted with by any characters of the world. Now that isn't necessarily stopping you from having revival mechanics, but this is just stopping it from being a little like a little rock in your way. So we'll want to make sure that collision presets are made to custom. Object type being a pawn, we don't want it to be anything other than a pawn. So if any AI or other characters have like line traces or box traces and they come across our little dead actor, we don't want it to be treated as anything other than a pawn. We can ignore everything except for world static and world dynamic. We will want that to be blocked, as we don't want our character to fall through the world. Everything else needs to be ignored. And then same with the other collision preset. We want custom, pawn, ignore, block, and ignore. The next big thing is we are going to want to set in the animation component some type of an animation instance. I'm using my AnimBP base. This is kind of important for this video, so I would recommend you watch my video about creating a animation blueprint for many or all characters, as we will utilize another part of that. Excuse me. Then from there, the last thing we want to do is get our gameplay tags and add into this gameplay tag container. We're going to want to add in player states dead in there, ensuring that we are actually dead. Perfect. And that should be everything for that. Next thing we're going to do, you don't need to open up the health component, but we're going to use a part of it that I will demonstrate. So in apply damage, we have all of our damage application logic, and in the end, we check if our health is less than or equal to 0, and if we're not already dead, then we will set ourselves to be dead and call the dead event delegate. Now what this does is it fires this event dispatcher. Similar to interfaces, we can't do anything with this, but any blueprint that utilizes this will then fire it. So we can see that here within our character base. When damage will be applied to us, we can come into our health component, we can add that in, and then we could run logic off of here and do something like print. And if we were to fall below 0 or whatever threshold, it would call this, and then it would fire this off and print hello as we have died. Now, fortunately, we can utilize something similar. I don't want to use all of our death logic inside of the character base, as we will need different things for either AI or our player characters. So within our player controller, what we're going to actually do is up at the top where we have all of our possess logic. We've utilized bind events before, which have been very powerful, and so we're going to use a similar one where we get from the character base, get component by class, the health component, and we pull from there and get the bind event to dead. Now, just like this being fired off, whatever event we have plugged into here will also be fired off. In this case, we have created an event, selected matching event, and it'll spawn an event, and you can rename it to something like undead. So now, if our character is ever killed, and it's a player character, it will fire this undead event. From there, what we need to do is spawn an actor of class dead actor. with the transform of our player character's transform. Next, we want to actually set the return value. We'll just call it dead actor. We'll promote it to a variable because we're going to reference this a few times. Immediately, we want to get a component by class, the component being the paper flipbook, and we're going to set the relative scale 3D of our paper flipbook. This will size up our sprite to match the previous sprite. As right now, within our dead actor, if we open up here, our sprite is just a scale of 111, where we might have a character that will have a scale of something like 5.3, 5.3, 5.3. So if we did not account for that, we would just spawn in a little itsy bitsy character, and that is not what we want. So we'll set the relative scale 3D of our player character base or player character's sprite relative scale 3D as the new scale 3D, and that will scale up dynamically whatever different sized characters we may have. And the next thing we want to do is get from the dead actor the PaperZD animation component, animation instance, and play an animation override. If you don't know what animation overrides are, I have previous videos on them, so I would recommend you definitely watch that. This is the next part about that I mentioned earlier, coming from our one animation blueprint. I created an animation map that will store different animations that are important in all characters to create a functioning character, one of them being death, so we can utilize that. And that the structure is found in the character base. It's called the anim map. It's the type is a enumerator called animation or anim sequence that has all of these right here: none, idle, run, attack, fall, hit, death, jump. You need all of those to create a usable character, with the value being a PaperZD anim sequence, which is allows us to utilize notifies and properly play flipbooks within PaperZD. This is then passed on to all children and allows us to search it up and actually add it in to our specific children, whatever their animations are. Jump for the adventurer. Now we can get it from the player character base anim map and then get the death, play that as the sequence. The slot for the override will just be something like a default slot, and remember, that is going to be where we are essentially ejecting the override into our animation blueprint. In this case, I have it right here, directly in with an output into the seeable animation. This is the output animation. This is where all animations are played. So we have a direct inject into it, just called default slot. We can leave play rate in starting position. Next thing we need to do is actually destroy our original player character, possess our dead actor, and then disable input. Now this has confused me for a long time, and so you might be confused with all of these selfs. Essentially, we can read here, target is controller. We are running this blueprint in the controller, so it is itself. We don't need to worry about having any inputs or references into there. And then this one's a little bit interesting. Target is actor. Usually, a target will only reference itself being the blueprint you're running it in. But in this case, because player controllers interact a lot with actors, we're able to just target is actor. This target will already be this actor. You could plug that in right there though, and that should work fine. And we don't need to worry about the player controller because we are in the player controller and it is our default value in our game mode. Okay, we can go ahead and play. I'll get myself killed, and we see just like that, I fall down dead, unable to move. And just for reference, if we were to do that still, it should work all fine. Just like, actually it doesn't. Interesting. Then we're just going to ignore that. Sorry. Perfect. So And that will be all of that. And the next video, I'm going to show our attack boxes.